Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Idiot Side Quest. I'm Brandon,
And I'm Leah.
and I want to give a special shout out to, I can't even really show the YouTube community my shirt, but under my hoodie, because it's cold, I'm wearing my Monster Hunter 15th anniversary shirt, and I just want to give a shout out to Monster Hunter World, which just released their Iceborne DLC. Let me know if you guys play, and if you guys are enjoying the DLC so far. And speaking of Monster Hunter, we are going to be talking about a very famous Monster Hunter in the fantasy world today.
Your boy, Geralt.
Of Rivia, The Witcher. The Witcher Netflix TV show released in December of 2019. So it's been out for a little while now. And
Was it in December?
It's December, yeah. It was like right after Christmas, I think.
Oh.
No, it was right before Christmas,
Fuck.
I know, it feels like it's been out shorter than that, but also it's somehow already almost the middle of January, and I don't know how we got to this point so quickly. So, yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll be talking about The Witcher. If you have not seen The Witcher on Netflix, go watch it. Go borrow your neighbor's Netflix, do whatever you need to do. I think it's very worth a shot, and also we will be talking about the show in general, so it could contain some spoilers for you if you don't
It'll
want to hear them.
probably spoil
I mean,
things
yeah,
and
it does.
stuff.
It does.
So maybe don't.
But yeah, definitely watch the show. Come on right back here, listen to the review and just general conversation on it. As far as my previous exposure to The Witcher, I never read the books and I never played the first two games, but like many people, I did play Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, and I never got to the Blood and Wine expansion. I've tried to get there multiple times, but every time I want to get to that expansion, I want to like do a full playthrough of the game, and it is a very long, very extensive game.
Yeah, I haven't played the first two. I've only played part of the third one.
And the beginning of the third, quite honestly, is really slow. Like when I first started playing it, I was really like, I don't understand how it's getting like a 9.8 out of 10. I don't know why it's winning like RPG of the year, because I think it came out like the same year that Fallout 4 or something else came out. Something big that was definitely a contender for RPG. And it was really confusing to me. But then I just kind of trudged through the intro and then started getting to the more expansive versions of the world and realized just how insanely intricate it was. And I really love Witcher 3. If you haven't played it, highly recommend it. But this is less on the on the video games. I will be referencing it a little bit just because it was cool watching the show. It was weird watching the show because it's kind of based on like the prequel books, and there's a lot of things that get discussed in The Witcher 3, like maybe characters or events reference the past, or like Geralt himself has a nickname known as the Butcher of Blaviken that you constantly hear and you kind of just get used to it. But in the very first episode, you actually see the events that labels him with that nickname.
You get why.
Yeah, it's
like, oh, okay.
It's suddenly there, and you're just like, huh. So, do you want to start off like maybe at episode 1?
Yeah, sure. That's a good place to start.
Or do you want to do a general overview of your first thoughts? Any opening statements you have to make?
I liked it. I really did. But I don't know why it was really hard for me to get through. 'Cause I don't know. Maybe this is just like me as a human being, but this week was very busy for me.
Yes.
And so I had to like specifically like set aside time for myself to like sit and watch it. And I don't know, like I think the fact that it was kind of a chore for me maybe fucked it up a little bit for me.
A little bit. I could definitely see that myself as well.
Yeah. But so overall I liked it. It was just kind of like it was hard getting into it. Like once you're into it, once you're like past like episode like 3, I want to say.
See, that's the thing is I stopped at episode 3. Like I watched the first 3 episodes with my family, and then we came up with the idea to review it, and I still hadn't watched it in a while. And I just it's not that I didn't have a need to watch more. It's just like I knew I could eventually watch it, and this did add a sense of urgency. But definitely once you got past episode 3, that's where things really start kind of coagulating together.
Yeah. you get the bigger picture behind it.
Yeah. Overall, the entire first season is really just backstory for the greater events that are to unfold. And it has already been approved for a second season in, I think, early 2021, sometime in 21. So we know more is coming. But overall, it is very much a lot of setup. And especially in the first 3 episodes, it's almost setup to the setup. So it's...
Yeah. I wish it went just like a little bit further.
Yeah.
But I digress. There's going to be more. So
I think it could definitely be a show that they make lots of seasons for, and especially with how well the first one was received. I noticed we were reading a little bit before we recorded, and it looks like critical acclaim on it for like Rotten Tomatoes stuff gave it a 60%, but I'm like, everyone I talk to
Rotten Tomatoes is just wrong all the time, though.
They are, yeah. So it's like, for me, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope that the general enjoyment of a lot of people will give it actually like extra funding for the second season.
Yeah. I would also like to mention that watching this, I like, obviously I haven't read the books before this. I actually, before this show was coming out, I didn't even know there were books on it.
Really?
I didn't. Okay, man. My Witcher knowledge prior to this show and like overall just in general is lacking. It's not really there. So watching this makes me want to read the books more so than play the games. Like, I'm very much so a book person and an indie horror video game person.
Yeah.
So I feel like this would be more satisfying for like my book person side.
I'm really curious too to see like how the show goes, because I know Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, I don't believe is actually like in the books at all. That's like afterwards. CD Projekt Red had bought the rights to The Witcher. They made the first game and made another game, and there was, I believe, last year, maybe 2 years ago, time seems irrelevant all the time now, that the author of the books was actually suing the video game developers CD Projekt Red because he felt like he hadn't received enough money for the rights that he had sold out after the massive success of Wild Hunt. And so he was trying to come for money, and they were just like, hey, you signed this contract, we have like the right to do everything. Like you did this, you should have asked for more in the beginning.
Had more value in your product.
Yeah, or maybe asked for like percentages instead of
a flat rate.
Yeah, what he did, I believe, was a flat rate, and then once he realized it was really successful, he wanted percentages, is my understanding of the whole shebang. Well,
in my mind, I feel like no matter what it is,
always ask percentage. Ask
for a percentage. Flat rate's never gonna...
Even if it's a small percentage, that's something you can scale forever. So, so I'm really curious to see if they stop it where the books stop, or if they continue it on with the expanded story, because Wild Hunt, I loved that story, so...
I didn't finish it, so...
I guess now, finally, after long-winded introductions and stuff, head into episode 1. Let's hear your notes on episode 1.
Well, my note keeping when I'm watching things, honestly, I just want to say I'm fucking hilarious. Because my notes literally for episode 1 is LMAO. Innkeep gives them a whole ass pitcher. Like, I don't know if you remember that, but like they kept ordering beers and he's like, fuck this shit, I'm just gonna put the pitcher down. You fucking assholes, because like he has an issue with The Witcher because like issues.
Yeah.
Also, I have a note that says the milk girl is walking exposition, which that's one thing that I did notice throughout a lot of these like episodes, is there are a lot of just like walking exposition characters.
What do you mean?
Like just explaining things and explaining the world.
They're only there just to explain things.
Yeah, they're only there to explain things. And like, I understand that sometimes you need to have characters like that, but I feel as though you can do it in a better, more subtle way. So it's not like, oh, this person is just walking exposition. That is their purpose. That's what they are. And so basically you meet a sorcerer and Stregobor. And he's like, hey, dude, kill this bitch for me. And your boy's like, I don't kill bitches. I kill monsters. And so basically he ends up thinking about it and he's like, nah, I'm not going to do it. And apparently the chick is Renfrey, which was the same chick that he was drinking with at the bar or the innkeep or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And so he advises her to like let shit from the past go, like forget about it.
Yeah, they both want to kill each other.
You don't need to hurt each other. It's not worth it. Grudges are bad. And for a second, you think that she might do it, but then it's just like, nah. Let's see. What else do I have in my notes? There's this kingdom, which I'm totally forgetting the name of it. It is in here.
Sintra or Nilfgaard?
Sintra, yes. So there's this kingdom called Sintra, and one of our other like main characters, like from like a separate from The Witcher, but it's gonna all come together.
Yeah.
Is Sintra. You see that there's like this grandmom and this granddaughter, and the castle comes under attack from Nilfgaard, and basically, you know, they're just real fucked. The queens are...
Be ready to hear a lot about Nilfgaard.
Yeah, there's a lot about...
They are constantly just...
in everybody's business.
In everyone's business.
But so, yeah, they essentially overrun Sintra. Don't watch a live stream while we're recording, Brandon.
I'm listening.
Pay attention.
I am paying
idiot.
attention. Trust me, this actually keeps me stimulated and good.
Okay. Fuck, I forgot what I was saying.
I'm talking about Sintra coming under attack by the Nilfgaard Empire.
Yeah, so basically, Grandmom's like, find the Witcher, find Geralt.
He is your destiny.
Yeah, he is your destiny. She doesn't say the Witcher, she just says Geralt. And the Grandmom dies, and the little girl is trying to escape the castle. But she ends up getting followed by this Nilfgaard dude, who I haven't played the games enough to know who the fuck he is or necessarily what the fuck he wants.
To my understanding, it might be the guy that's becomes a character much later on in the series. Like in the show, like episode 6, you start seeing the guy that's talking to the goblin.
It's that guy, but like I don't like
he's just an Nilfgaardian.
Yeah, his
honestly.
purpose, like there's obviously like a more overarching purpose to him.
Yeah.
But it's not really totally revealed over the season.
Yeah.
Other than finding this little girl. Don't really know why, but he wants her real bad.
Oh,
so
yeah.
she's running
some heretical thing, some prophecy. They reference the prophecy of the white flame a few times, but you don't really get any info as to what that is.
It's just like big question marks. We haven't read the books. Sorry, guys. And so she ends up like falling off her horse, and it's like, oh man, this guy's gonna get this little girl. And then the only note that I have for this scene is my superpower is screaming.
Unlocked endless screaming.
Yeah, just her screaming literally opens up a hole in the earth.
Yeah. So it's like we kind of see some parallels a little bit here in the aspect of that Renfrey is introduced as she's not just some girl. She was a girl born under the eclipse, and Stregobor just really has something against any girl born under the eclipse. And Ciri herself is also another one of those girls. So we start to see like kind of that parallel coming into play.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the first episode, it's really just kind of a lot of exposition as to who Geralt is, what he does. The first scene, he's fighting a Kikimora, which is a monster. And he's just trying to get coin for the trophy at the village. And that's how he gets entangled up in all of this. As Renfrey is on her last breath, because spoiler alert, Geralt has to kill her at the end when he's the Butcher of Blaviken. She says to go find the girl in the woods. She is your destiny. So you start to hear that Ciri has to find Geralt, and Geralt has to find Ciri. And it's just kind of ominous. There's no real details yet.
I'm kind of curious because, like, as a watcher, maybe I'm just like fucking dumb. That might be it. But I wasn't too sure if it was like a curse or what, because like that stays with him like real hard.
It's revealed why it's his destiny.
Well, no, I know why it's his destiny, but I don't know why her saying it is like stuck in his mind so much, you know? It's like almost like she cursed him or like something whimsical and magical. Because it's not like, oh, the girl. Like it's genuinely Renfrey saying the girl is your destiny. And you hear her voice repeat it multiple times throughout the season. So I wasn't sure if it was like a magic curse or what.
I think it's less a curse and it's more just kind of it's nagging at him that there's a semi-magical woman telling him a prophecy and it just won't seem to leave him alone. Fair. Which later is revealed, you know.
Fair enough. I relate to Geralt. I want to be left the fuck alone.
Yeah. Good old Geralt. I will say, in general, in all the episodes, you never see Vesemir yet. He's one of my favorite characters of the series, so I was a little sad.
Also, I definitely made my hair white specifically for this episode. I am your Witcher. Just kidding, I'm not. I didn't do it for that purpose, but I kind of realized it fits.
Well, let me toss a coin to you because episode 2, we meet Dandelion. I don't think he's ever actually referred to as Dandelion yet in the series. He's just known by his actual name, Jaskier, the Bard. Mm-hmm. And we get a very catchy tune by the end of it. Toss a coin to your Witcher, O Valley of Plenty. If you've seen the episode, you know exactly what is going on, and it's whew.
I haven't even been here for an hour, and he's sung it like 8 times.
Yeah. That's what happens when you marathon The Witcher, man.
I mean, it's catchy. It is. I'll give him that.
Yeah, it's a catchy tune. I don't, like, we don't actually see Yennefer until episode 2, right? Episode 2 is where we're introduced to Yennefer of Venderberg. She's a hunchback. She's all deformed. She's out... I believe it's her siblings potentially in the stables and that are making fun of her, kind of beating her up. And then her dad ends up selling her to some enchantress, some sorceress who comes by. We don't know she's a sorceress yet, but... No,
we do, because what happens before that is, you know, her dad is like, I think beating the shit out of her. And she's those asshole kids, they're making fun of her for being so ugly, and she's like so distraught and distressed that she
has the catalytic.
Yeah, she accidentally opens a portal and teleports.
That's it. Yeah. She portals in, and that's how Tissaia, is that how you say her name? I think so,
Tissaia.
That's always like a tough one for me to pronounce.
Yeah. So she portals to the
Aretusa.
Yeah, Aretusa. She finds a guy there, and he's like, "Holy shit, this bitch is gonna find you. Here is a non-trackable portal, and you can go back home."
Yeah.
But obviously the first portal that she went through, because it was an accident, was traceable. Bitch shows up, and she gets Yennefer.
Yeah, so she gets sold off for less than a pig, and begins her training in Aretusa. She tries killing herself. She tries doing a whole bunch of different stuff. This is a really... Like, we get a little bit of Geralt and Jaskier, but this is one of the episodes that's like 70% about Yen.
Yeah.
Kind of coming into
about Yennefer.
Coming into the throes of learning magic and
becoming a mage.
Exactly.
Also, like, everybody in here is just such assholes. Like,
at Aretusa?
No, just everybody everywhere in this world. Oh, yeah. They're all terrible.
Oh yeah. That's serfdom, man. I mean, everyone is out for themselves. And
so you kind of have... Sorry.
No, keep going.
Okay. So you kind of have that like little tidbit with Yennefer. You see her getting sold. And then we go back to Cirilla. And, you know, she's kind of like wandering the woods. This dumbass almost eats random berries that she doesn't know what the fuck they are. Which, like, don't do that.
She's a little princess. She don't know too much better.
Use your fucking brain. If you don't know what it is, don't put it in your mouth.
I mean, hey, when you're hungry, you know? She'd been walking for a little while. Plus, she is pretty...
fucking weak.
She's naive. But luckily, we got Dara saving her ass.
Yeah. There's the elf boy, but we don't know that he's an elf yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, so Yennefer goes to school. I can't really... Sorry, I'm reading my notes. I don't really know what scene this is from, but I know it's in this episode. I'm assuming it's somebody that runs across Geralt, and I just wrote down something that somebody said, which is, "Did your mother fuck a snowman?" which quality writing right there. I found it very amusing.
I don't remember who says that exact line.
It's a great line, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of good lines.
There's a lot of good lines.
Yeah, but I mean, this one is... You also meet Phil Evandrel. He's not like a super important character yet, but everyone does know who he is. He's the king of the elves, and it sounds like the elves overall have been recently been getting persecuted a lot. Yeah, they're starting to have their downfall.
They haven't had the best luck.
No, I mean, when do elves ever really have the best of luck?
You got a point.
They're always kind of like the
outcasts.
The outcasts.
It's because they're so pretty. People are like, fuck you.
Yeah, but overall, this is probably the most formulative episode in the aspect of not really much happens. We just meet tons of characters, get a lot of development.
It's exposition.
It's a huge exposition episode.
But I enjoyed it. I think I really liked episode 2.
Episode 2 was pretty good. You get a lot of like... really down-to-earth views on a lot of the characters, especially like Geralt, because like Geralt, he has like almost a high and mightiness about him in the first episode, but coming down into the second episode, he's just like, hey man, if this is how it's gonna be, then it's how it is, I guess, you know. But yeah, episode 2, there's not too much that happens. I mean, there is, but overall big happening events, nothing
not
quite
too
yet.
Much. Just
episode 3 is really where things start to sizzle.
Yeah. I think episode 3, I wouldn't say it's my... it actually might be my favorite. I really like episode 3. Okay, so in episode 3, you get to Temeria, where this monster is running amok.
Oh, yes.
Killing all of the commoners. And because it only appears on the full moon...
I will say that this episode by far, especially because it was the last one that I watched for the longest period of time, and I was watching late at night and with my mom, it's by far the, I don't want to say scariest episode, but it's pretty creepy. It's pretty dark.
It's spoopy.
It's by far the darkest and spookiest.
That might be why I like it.
Yeah, it was really dark. Some jump scares to it. It was cool though. Like it was...
I don't think there were any jump scares.
This by far to me was my favorite in the aspect of...
Had a nice eerie feeling.
Well, it portrayed exactly kind of... It almost felt like the Witcher game in the aspect of you get to see all the aspects that goes into a monster hunt. It's not just running in with your sword. A quest. Yeah, it's not just running in with your sword. It's gathering information. It's getting all the details. It's talking to the right people, getting the right ingredients, setting up the right setting in order to handle something like a Striga, especially because a Striga is not just a monster you go and slay. It's something you're trying to release, kind of.
Well, I mean, he talks about how you could just kill it.
Yeah.
But he does end up saving it because he's a good boy. But yeah, no, and obviously the episode opens with a different Witcher attempting to, kill this Striga, but obviously, he's not quite as good at his job as Geralt is.
Do you remember if he was from the School of the Wolf as well?
I don't think it really, I don't even think he was introduced. You see that there's a Witcher, and you see he's gonna battle the Striga, and it KOs him immediately. Yeah.
Well, the only real school that you would ever notice is if we saw the medallion. I don't know if we ever saw his medallion or not. I think Geralt grabs it, but I don't remember.
I don't remember seeing the medallion. I don't know what was on it.
It probably does show though, but who knows? Quick input on the medallion.
Looks badass.
But honestly, I'm really sad they don't have the game's version, because I think those medallions are just so much cooler.
They're really intricate though.
They are really intricate, but that's what makes them so interesting,
Fair enough.
Also, I think this is one of the first episodes. All right, well, I'm gonna throw this out there real quick. I'll start off real quick. You see Yennefer and the man Istrid that she had met in Aretusa when she first portaled. They're now lovers. They kind of... I've actually read an article that was really interesting in the aspect of some people were a little scared that this was going to treat... The Witcher was going to treat sexuality kind of in the way that Game of Thrones did, to where it's just kind of a set dressing, women are naked just for the act of being naked, and it's something to look at. But there actually is kind of a lot that goes into, you never really just see naked people just for the aspect of seeing them. too much. In Stregobor's palace you do, and it kind of reveals who Stregobor is. And you kind of do later in episode 5 when Yennefer has the whole thing going on, but that does actually speak a lot to Yen's character. It has a reason for kind of being
Purpose.
there.
But so yeah, there's Yennefer and Isrid, or Isrid, yeah. Istrid. They're doing some fuck.
Yeah, they do it.
And I think it's like an illusion that Yennefer is made, but there's just like a bunch of people watching them. Because like, you know, they get up and then they're gone. I think it was an illusion. But like, why would you want that illusion? I would not want that illusion.
I don't know if it is an illusion. I think it actually is the Brotherhood. You have to remember, they're all mages, so they can all just kind of get around.
That's weird.
But yeah, that was kind of the sexuality point that I was bringing in.
Is it obvious I haven't made it that far into the third game? I don't really know what I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, it's just mages doing mage stuff. But
I'm doing my best, guys.
I just like to highlight, I forget who wrote the article, but it was like noting on that scene in particular that it gives Yen a lot of power as a deformed woman who also, Istrid doesn't want to be watched, but she's like, get over it, you're getting watched anyway. So I don't know, I thought it was a really interesting scene for sure, but yeah, episode 3, you definitely get, it's a really good 50-50 split, I would say, of Yennefer's kind of finishing moments of her formulation, because this is the episode in which she becomes a full-fledged sorceress. She joins the Brotherhood. She is going to be assigned to Nilfgaard, but she breaks some rules. She changes her appearance to make herself in her ideal like sexual form. It costs her her ability to make children, and she actually gets sent to the kingdom that she really wanted to be sent to.
Yeah, which is the kingdom that she's from.
Yeah.
Although one tidbit that I kind of have is because, like, obviously Yennefer's learning curve is not in a straight line. Like, she obviously goes through a lot of up and downs throughout her mage training. But I feel like they almost only concentrate on the downs. That you never really see. You never see her
big.
Yeah, do big power and stuff like that. And I wish it was a little bit more balanced where you could see, you know, this, because it's, if you fail, if you don't ascend, you get turned into an eel and you go into a pond.
Yeah.
And from what we were shown, looks like she should have gone in that pond.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, you see later on.
Yeah, you see later on, and then you do get the characters telling her that, like, especially Tisea, telling her constantly that she's like the best student, like her magic powers are insanely strong. But you never really do see those like moments of, aha, I get it, or not. You don't really get the big breakthroughs really too much yet. And those would have been like the bigger breakthroughs. But I don't hate it, you know.
No, I don't hate it. I just kind of wish there was
had a little bit of that.
Just a little bit more balance to it.
Yeah.
Because I definitely, not just in like magic, but like overall in general in life, the people who usually, in my opinion, end up being the best and the most successful at what they're doing weren't always like that. Like they had a lot of mistakes and they learned from them. So. Yeah.
I could definitely see that. So it's like, yeah, you have Yennefer's side of the story, which is going back and forth, but overall, she does ascend. She becomes a part of the Brotherhood. She changes her appearance and she gets sent off to the kingdom that she wanted to. And the other half of the story is all about Geralt working with Triss, another sorceress from the Brotherhood of Sorceress, to fight the Striga, try and figure it out. Because I believe it was it was the cursed child of one of the nobility of the area.
Yeah, so it was
a bastard child, I believe.
Yeah, or it was an incest child.
Was it an incest child? Okay.
So there was this chick, I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, and the brother, and they were both royalty. The brother and the sister were in love, but there was, I believe it was the mage of that castle who was in love with the girl.
Oh, they're the names.
Yeah.
Foltest and Princess Ada.
Princess Ada.
Yeah, so the Foltest is a name you hear later, probably.
Yeah. So the mage is in love with the chick's name, who I literally just heard, but went in one ear and
Ada.
directly out the other. Ada. And he realizes that she's pregnant with her brother's incest bastard child.
Mm-hmm.
And so to take revenge on his unreciprocated love, he curses her and creates the Striga.
Yes. And so this nice curse fellow, he's the one that even like puts in like the I believe he's the one that posts the bounty for the Striga. Geralt starts. That's the other thing about Witchers is, I mean, they kind of hint at it, especially in a later episode that involves like a dragon, but they are monster hunters, but they are taught in their training.
Yeah.
You don't always have to actually
Killing is not always the answer.
Yeah, there's usually a better option. And if you can go for that option, definitely go for it. So he follows all those clues. You see a lot of really neat, as we mentioned earlier, this episode has a lot of cool cinematography as far as like the close quarters and the darkness of this house that he's trying to get the Striga in. In order to, a Striga is like kept in its tomb until nightfall, and then it comes out and it goes and wreaks havoc. And then before daylight, it will return to its tomb. Otherwise, that's kind of how you like lift the curse. Yeah. But it doesn't, as a monster, it doesn't want that curse to be lifted. Yeah. So he has a few different things that he does, and he eventually Geralt seals himself inside of the tomb,
so the Striga
can't get back in.
Although I do have to say, one thing that I personally found hilarious in the fight scene from that episode, which, not knocking the fight scene, it was great. It was great choreography and shot and all that stuff. But there is a point in time where, you know, the Striga knocks the Witcher back, and like, so he loses grip of his sword and he can't reach it. So his solution to that is, I'm gonna break the floor. Yeah. Like, okay, dude.
I mean, he's pinned down. He's got to find some way to get out of there.
Sure, I've never been in a fight with a Striga. I can't really talk to it, but it was just kind of like one of those things like...
One small thing that I noticed, too, about the show, it never says outright, but if you've played the games or probably read the books, you would know. And it's usually really faint. Like, sometimes if you're not wearing headphones and watching the show, it's hard to notice it. But occasionally, there's a slight humming. And what that humming is supposed to signify is the medallion of a Witcher hums when there's like an illusion or some sort of magical force nearby. And so
it's their version of the Sting.
I don't know what that is.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, sure.
Brandon.
That goes over my head. I don't know the Lord of the Rings very well.
The glowing sword.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Oh my god.
But the medallion hums anytime there's like a magical entity or something. And so occasionally in this episode, I believe you first hear it, and then in several episodes later too, like when Geralt is in Sintra, you also hear it several times. So on to episode 4. Yeah. As you're disappointed in me. Episode 4 was really interesting because it's the point in the show where you realize that these 3 characters you've been watching up until this point, you immediately start to realize, if you're watching carefully, these 3 timelines aren't actually in sync.
It's not the same.
They're not in sync yet. So Yennefer is doing her own thing. And this one, I believe, is when she is with... in the carriage? Is she in the carriage in this one?
Yeah, she's in the carriage with the royal family that she's looking after. Not the one that she was originally supposed to go to, Nilfgaard, but the one that she wanted to be with. Yeah. From her home valley or whatever the fuck you want to call it. I'm not great at names. I'm so sorry. And so basically, they're in the carriage. They end up getting attacked, and, you know, Yennefer portals them, and then the person who was attacking them follows them.
Yeah, it's an assassin.
Yeah. And so you realize that it's an assassin. It's assumed that it was hired by the woman's husband, the king, or, you know, high lord of that kingdom or whatever, because she hasn't produced an heir for him yet.
Yeah, a male heir.
Yeah, male heir.
One thing I was going to note on, though, during the carriage ride is, this is really early in the episode, but you hear... And it didn't quite register right away, but I did think, that's interesting that Yennefer states that 3 decades of watching over this family. Yeah. So that's 30 years. And so you're just like, oh, wow, that's like a massive time skip. What's going on there? Yeah. And then later on in the episode, you definitely start to put it a little bit together. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, they get attacked. Yen has real bad mental times because she tried to protect the baby because she can't have her own and it's dead. Interesting of the ballsy of them to show a dead baby, by the way.
Hell
Multiple
yeah.
times. You get like 4 close-ups on this dead baby and you're just like, what the fuck?
No, I'm kidding. I don't love the dead baby, but I like the balls that they had to do it. But yeah, no, so they're, attacked by this assassin. The high lady, or whatever you want to call her, she essentially gives Yennefer shit for not being able to lose this assassin or attack him. And
so Yennefer's like, fuck off and
like,
lets her die.
Yeah, I'm a dip. And then she dips and then she thinks about it for a second and then she goes back and saves the baby. And then like as she's portaling again, the assassin throws the blade and that's when the blade hits the baby. It's a whole Dobby moment. Don't worry about it. It's a whole Dobby moment.
It is. It's this whole thing.
Yep.
We also, after, I don't believe he's in episode 3, but in episode 4, we have the nice return of our favorite bard, Yasker, Dandelion, in a quite amusing opening in which this man is talking about how he took Geralt to fight the monster and how he watched Geralt die, and Dandelion's like, yeah, no, he's okay.
He's fine. And he's like, no, you don't understand. I watched him die, and then just
Geralt walks right in, tosses the trophy down. He doesn't just
walk right in. He busts through the fucking door.
Covered in guts.
Smelling real bad. Real foul.
And Dandelion starts a very off-key toss a coin near Witcher, Valley of Plenty, and the whole tavern joins in. I audibly laughed out loud. I cackled when that scene happened. I thought it was fucking brilliant. It was just good. And then Dandelion says he needs help because he sleeps with a lot of women that he really should not because they're in royal families.
And he's a bard. I mean, if you're going to be a bard, it's just... It's part of the
He sleeps primarily with daughters of royalty and wives of royalty. So a lot of people hate him. He's like, hey, I have to go to this wedding shit. Like, can you look out for me? And this is when we actually see Calanthe again.
Yeah, so
Calanthe is the queen who dies in episode 1.
Yeah, the queen of Sintra, the grandma, all that fun stuff. She's a badass warrior.
What were your first thoughts when you first saw Calanthe? Did you watch it all in one sitting? All 8 episodes?
I didn't watch it all in one sitting because I didn't have the time for it. I think I watched 2, 6 in one sitting, and then I finished 7 and 8 the next day when I had time.
See, for me, I watched those first 3 episodes and then waited like 2 weeks and then watched episode 4 as my first one. I was like, she looks real familiar. She looks real familiar. I was like, wow, is that who it is? Because it's like if I watch the first 3 episodes and then you take time off and then come back, you start to like the connections are a little weird. Yeah, about halfway through the episode, you definitely do fully make the connection of like, okay, this is definitely what's going on here.
Although I think maybe I'm just an asshole. But I think because what's her fucking name? The queen. Calanthe. There we go. I'll get it. Maybe. I think Calanthe, she's like portrayed as this utter fucking badass in the battlefield.
Mm-hmm. She is.
But in almost every scene, she ends up crying. Which, maybe I'm just an asshole. I don't cry a lot. I think I just have emotional problems, maybe. But to see a warrior just like break down and cry over like the dumbest fucking shit doesn't really make sense to me. But like maybe you could be devil's advocate and say like, you don't have to be emotionally hard to be physically strong,
I would say that I will play the devil's advocate in the aspect of a lot of times, especially I mean, in the first episodes, she's kind of like crying because it's the end of life and she's fearing for Ciri.
I'm not gonna cry on my deathbed.
Yeah, but you would cry for the safety, like she later states in episodes that it's more about her granddaughter.
Oh yeah, no, but also I'm definitely just an asshole. I know.
In episode 4, she does cry, but I think it's definitely more stemming from like she's angry that she's a woman in a man's world, and no matter how strong she gets, she still can't like kind of escape that.
And just fucking kill him.
Yeah, but here's the episode where you learn about the Law of Surprise, which is a semi like magically bonding entity.
It's
in this
strange
world.
Because like I understand it, like I get it, but also at the same time I don't at all.
The law of surprise?
Yeah. Like, I understand how it functions.
Okay.
And I understand by declaring the law of surprise, it's kind of like, but like, there's not a whole lot of definition to it.
Not really. It's just a form of repayment without requiring
without
like a hard payment.
Or an exchange.
Because I mean, it could be money, but it's whatever you have that you don't know about yet. So
yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. It's apparently really important to a lot of these people, especially in I guess Sintra. Well, I was trying to remember if I know Skellige really has a lot of ties to it. But I guess so does Sintra, since this is where that's happening. But long story short, there's some fights that happen. The episode 4 primarily emphasizes the law of surprise, what it entails.
I mean, most of the episode is about the queen's daughter, who we have not seen before, getting married. And obviously, man's world, it's an arranged marriage, blah, 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 blah.
It's where all these kingdoms, they want to marry to gain territory for their kingdom. And so they come to propose like, hey, I should be the one to marry your daughter because
I want your bitch.
Yeah.
And your money and your power.
But a knight comes in, he declares the law of surprise. Mm-hmm. And that's what starts this whole thing off. There's some neat scenes. This episode was kind of a setup episode for the most part.
Yeah.
Especially because at the very end, the man who was cursed, the knight.
Your boy's a fucking hedgehog.
Yeah, he's saved by Geralt, and he demands that he has some sort of payment for Geralt. So Geralt, in a half-assed,
he was joking.
brooding way, just jokingly says, fine,
joking.
I invoke the law of surprise.
He was joking, and so much importance comes from this.
Immediately, the princess, who also was once again, a girl born under the eclipse, as you see the magic come out through her.
Magique. You have a whole Shrek moment.
She throws up, implying that she's pregnant, and so Geralt is now semi-entitled to the child that comes from their whole shindig. About halfway, so we're about 4 episodes out of 8 episodes. Do you have any like standard statements that you'd want to blanket, or like how would you rate halfway through the show?
Nah.
No.
I feel like this is something that you have to watch the whole thing, you know?
100%.
So
it's definitely something that, because of the way that it's arranged, and as we kind of state, number 4 is where you really start to understand these timelines aren't exactly aligned. You won't understand fully what's happening until you watch the whole thing. Yeah. Because it's not until the end of episode 8 where all timelines converge. So yeah, I would say as I watched the first half of the show, I was still definitely very interested in it. But the second half is definitely, it's a lot less exposition and more just, all right, this is stuff that's
things
happening.
That going.
Yeah, this is stuff that is happening. I will admit that I was a little confused, or I'm curious as to why Geralt can't sleep. I was assuming it had to do with the law of surprise, or maybe because at the very end of 4 is also when you, at the end of this wedding, you flash back to current day, quotation marks, where Sintra has fallen. And then in the beginning of the next episode is Geralt saying he can't sleep. So I was like, are we at the future now? Are we in present day? We aren't. Spoiler alert. But he's fishing. And Dandelion says, I haven't seen you in forever, Geralt, old friend. And I can't tell if Dandelion's being sincere in saying that. It feels like it's been years, because it's really hard to follow the timeline at this point, because you just got hit with the fact that you're not on a linear timeline. Yeah. And then in episode 5, he's like, Geralt, it's been too long. I've been sleeping with all these people. What are you fucking doing? He's like,
I'm drunk fishing in this scene?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Very much so, because he's taking the swig from the flask and he's like, oh, that's disgusting. You want some, Geralt? Yeah, he's very much drunk.
Yeah. Geralt's a grouchy boy.
He is. I would be too.
Oh, yeah.
But he's fishing for a djinn, which is a genie in a bottle. He eventually finds it, and bad things happen to Jaskier, in which Jaskier needs to seek a doctor because the djinn essentially attacks Dandelion's throat, it's a really interesting relationship that Geralt and
Dandelion.
Yeah, I'm trying not to call him Dandelion. Yasker.
It's easier that way, though.
It's easier, but like if you haven't like known him as anything besides Yasker, but just
the bard.
I will say Dandelion. Dandelion is the bard. That's what he's referred to a lot later. In which I'm actually really curious how he gets that name.
I'm assuming we'll find out.
We'll find out, I'm sure. But they need to seek medical attention. They find a doctor. I find it really interesting that they can just ride into a camp and be like, "Is there a doctor?" And they're like, "Yeah, he's an elf doctor. He's over there."
Oh no.
Yeah, so he rushes him in the tent.
I mean, I would assume in like those quote unquote times, even though it's not real life, you just gotta have a doctor, kind of like not too far. You gotta have one handy.
Yeah, and so
you don't die.
And so also at the beginning of this episode, we have Yennefer, who is now kind of giving some hints at the fact that she actually was that at the very end? I'm trying to remember when. I think it's 5. I don't know. Some of these episodes are so long.
Yeah.
They are all like hour plus long episodes. So some of them are hard to tell when was in the last episode, what was beginning when you watch it all at once. But Yennefer at this point, since the girl got assassinated and she couldn't escape or save the baby, do anything like that, she's kind of severed her bonds with the Brotherhood. Yeah. And she's going off as like a rogue sorceress. She finds herself in this village and she's helping them out. She cures a man's erectile dysfunction. She's like, "Hey, go do the thing, man."
There's such a funny boner scene.
There is a funny boner scene because the mayor walks in and he's like, "What the bloody hell's going on in here?" The man's got a big old boner in his pants.
Raging.
But the mayor walks in and he's like, "You can't do magic without
a license.
Like, a license
and
or like paying
the
me."
City.
It's mostly money. And she's just like, "I don't give a shit. You can take me." And then we see that the elf doctor can't save Dandelion because it's a magical affliction, so they need a mage. He says there's a mage in the town, and lo and behold, it's actually Yennefer because Geralt goes waltzing into this man's house. We see the mayor who was just at Yennefer's shop, except he's naked in the basement and just kind of waltzing around. He's tranced, and he's like, "She wants apple juice." She's over there. She wants apple juice, and then he falls asleep. And this is when they walk in on the weird orgy scene that is happening. It's just this whole tantric brothel-like sex scene thing going on. Yeah. He just leaves Dandelion against a naked woman. He's like, "Stay there, buddy. I'm gonna go talk to the sorceress." He's like,
Although, real quick, though, before I forget this. So, is it in episode 4 or episode 5 where Cirilla is in that, like, magical, like, peaceful forest with the Amazon ladies?
I believe it is in episode 5, because I believe in 6 is when we're introduced to the Doppler.
Okay, great.
Actually, no, it is 5. It is 5 that the Doppler is introduced.
Okay, so we missed that in 4. Sorry.
Yeah.
Cirilla goes to this very peaceful, beautiful forest run by great Amazon ladies.
Yeah, the Broccolon forest. It is in 4.
You're welcome.
But in 5, we also learn about a Doppler, which is essentially he can just change his appearance.
It's a doppelganger.
Yeah, they're a doppelganger.
Really easy.
He can change appearance at anybody, anything. And when Dopplers do that, they also collect the memories and thoughts of who they transform into, so they can kind of...
Which, I'm so sorry, I did take some issue and confusion with that, because the Doppler, he transforms into Cirilla's mage for their family.
Yes.
To, acquire her, to get him to, like, that Nilfgaard elf dude or whatever. Mousak, yeah. And so he transforms into him. And, like, as he's killing the real mage dude, he's like, "I am you now. Like, I know everything that you know." But, like, later on, when he meets up with Cirilla, he makes some mistakes that obviously the actual mage guy would not. And that confuses me, because I thought he gained, like, all of the knowledge. Like, why wouldn't you know this stuff?
I think he gains, like, most, like, general knowledge and stuff like that. But at the same time, doppelganger...
You don't remember you got arthritis?
Yeah, the Dopplers that I have, they still have their own ego. And they always refer to themselves as we, which is also kind of an interesting little cool thing. Helps you keep track of who's who, though, in some of these scenes where you have two people just beating the shit out of each other and they're the same person.
Yeah.
Because one will go, we, and I'm like, oh,
yes,
that's the Doppler. There he is. But yeah, so going back to 5, well, I guess we're still talking about 5, but we see the Doppler. We don't really get too much with him until episode 6, because he doesn't quite arrive with Siri. But 5 is the big meeting of Geralt and Yennefer. And spoiler alert, they are very tied together for more reasons than one. But I don't know. I think this is a really good episode. It's a really good episode. However, I think 6 is a much better episode as far as their relationship is concerned. But Yen is really adamant in this episode in 5 about she wants her fertility back. It's not even the fact that she says she wants a baby, but she does state later it's more about she wants her choice. Yeah. She hates not having control of, and that's why Yennefer's trying to fuck with the Jinn so she can. Yeah, so she agrees to heal the Jinn's wounds, mostly so she can recapture the Jinn and make herself a vessel for more power, and hoping to herself that she will be able to cure herself of that affliction. Yeah. We come to find out through a series of events, she thought that Dandelion was the one with the wishes, but it was actually Geralt. I want to make a quick statement that there's a lot of gore in this show, especially when the man's head explodes. Yeah. Also, really quickly, because Yennefer's like whole shtick for like most of this season is like getting her fertility and her choice back and all that. And like, I get that magic's a thing. But, like, in that procedure where she, like, becomes beautiful and it costs her fertility and all that, he literally takes the shit out and burns it. I don't know about your luck with that one, lady. I don't know how well it's gonna go. I don't think it's going to. And like she constantly states, too, I mean, because you sometimes see, like, mages conjure things that, like, somewhat out of thin air. But you do hear the statement constantly of her apathetic that it's just magic. It's not real. Yeah. And this, it's very much about her getting fertility back and stuff like that. Geralt manages to come save Yennefer as she's got the Jinn inside of her. We don't know what Geralt wishes for in that moment. Yeah. But it does end up saving Yennefer, and she's pissed at him, and then they just go to fucking town. I will state I'm really sad we don't see the unicorn in this series yet, but I'm hoping, keeping it a hope. If you know about the unicorn scene, you know about it. I'm not going to go into any details, but trust me, it's kinky. It's a stuffed unicorn. It's weird. Yennefer and Geralt, man, they go way back. Yikes. So going into 6, this is when we do have the Doppler who confronts Ciri in the forest. Ciri's been talking to trees, doing psychoactive drugs in the forest, just being a little hippie chick. We are also we meet all these characters, and they're going on a hunt for a dragon and its treasure. And Geralt is not interested at all because Witchers are taught not to kill dragons. You don't kill the dragon. They're already an endangered species. Why would you hurt them? And then Geralt sees Yennefer walk into the bar with the 4th hunting party, and once again, he is like, all right, fine, I'm in. Gotta get them puss. I gotta go with Yen. And we also, later on in the episode, find out that this isn't the first time they've been meeting. They've met a lot of times in between episode 5 and 6. Yeah, she has a throwaway comment of like, she's like, I've only met one Witcher in my life, and I can't seem to get rid of him. And you see them laying in multiple bedrooms together. But yeah, I mean, this episode in general, I guess it's kind of a filler. Kind of not. The episode is mostly centered around Yen and Geralt. I'd say it's like 80% Yen and Geralt's relationship. Yeah. And then, I'd say, okay, like 60% that, 20% the actual just plot of the episode, which is getting to the dragon, finding out that there's a surprise twist with a golden dragon involved. I don't think we'll really spoil that too hard. No. But it's really neat. It's a neat episode. And then 20% is about the Doppler and Ciri and Dara trying to deal with this Doppler as they find out that something suspicious is awry.
Something's up.
Exactly. Overall, I really enjoy. I think I'm trying to remember if. So in Wild Hunt, I'm trying to remember at that point if the Jinn's wish has been reverted or not. Because in this episode, it comes to light that, you know, Geralt and Yennefer care about each other a whole lot and they can't seem to get rid of each other. But it kind of comes to reveal that Geralt's last wish had something to do with being tied to Yennefer. Mm-hmm. And it's never outright stated, but I think it really pisses Yen off in the aspect of it was another choice
in it. Yeah,
it was another choice that got taken from her. So she wasn't sure if it's actually
genuine, or if it's just magic and it's not real.
Exactly.
Also, so basically the whole thing of this episode is there is a dragon in a mountain, as dragons do, you know, just living their best life. And
Yen wants the dragon's heart for healing properties to heal her affliction. Once again, back to the affliction. Not having no babies.
No. But so, you know, there's these parties and all of that. And the person who, you know, gets Geralt to come along is like, I'm an old man. I just want to have like,
I want adventure.
I want to adventure. I want to do stuff before I die. Hurrah. But later on in the episode, it's revealed that that man.
Man, I thought we weren't going to spoil it.
Oh, this. Okay,
no, go for it.
But this man is a golden dragon, which is like so rare, believed to not exist kind of deal.
The only way they exist is through mutation.
Yeah. And so because the green dragon in the mountain is dead, but there's an egg, and the golden dragon wants to protect it because dragons are going extinct, you know, gotta have that. And
if the egg moves even slightly, the child dies, yeah.
And I somewhat get the dragon's logic, but also at the same time, because he's like, I wanted a witcher with me because witchers aren't supposed to kill dragons, but also at the same time, as a dragon myself, I would find it a little bit uncomfortable if I got a witcher to agree to come with me on a dragon hunt. Like, you know, it would kind of make me feel not too great. So like,
I don't know. I think Geralt is storied enough at this point that, well, and also too, that's why I don't think he doesn't fully reveal himself right away, because he's still forming that relationship and trying to figure out, is Geralt a threat or not, you know?
Fair.
And by the end, he's summated that he is not. So, I mean, this is kind of...
The dragon CG is janky.
Oh, yeah, it's a little weird. It's a little fucked up. But that's kind of like, this is Geralt and Yen fight, and then Yen ends up making her way back.
Yen's companion shits himself.
Yeah.
Pretty great.
They end up making it back in episode 7 to... She goes back to Aretusa, finds herself there. And this is kind of coming up to like a big conflict in which Nilfgaard is kind of an imposing threat. They've kind of been laying siege to everything around them.
Yeah.
And this kind of starts to go in. The last 2 episodes are mostly centered on
Nilfgaard.
Ciri trying to get to Skellige / find Geralt because she found out the Doppler was a Doppler. She's kind of on her own. Geralt in this episode in 7 comes back to invoke the Law of Surprise in Sintra. This is while Sintra is still standing, but like it's before the fall.
Yeah, it's the day that it falls.
Yeah, it's right as it falls. He's there during the siege. I don't know. There's a lot of like small things that happen, but overall, he's trying to invoke the Law of Surprise. The Queen Calanthe, she says, "You're not taking my granddaughter."
Bitch, no.
She tries to trick him. Of course, it doesn't work. He's a fucking witcher. He's smart.
/ Destiny kind of has some fuckery to do with it.
Yeah. The last 2 episodes, it's honestly pretty much by 7 we're semi lined up timeline wise. In 8 we're definitely lined up timeline wise.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the name of the creatures that Geralt fights in episode 8. I believe they're Neckers,
Are
but
we still on episode 7? What's going on?
oh, the thing is, episodes 7 and 8, they kind of are somewhat a joined episode in a way. Because you have the fall of Sintra. There's really not too much that happens in 7 other than setting up Nilfgaard as a problem. We need to deal with them.
And it's basically episode 1, but from a different perspective.
But from some different perspectives. It's really about Geralt trying to protect Ciri. He can't quite protect her. He notices, or he's not notices, but he's present for the fall of Sintra. And so he knows at this point that he has to find Ciri and he has to protect her. And then 8's just like an invasion episode. I mean, not just, but, What are your comments on 7 and 8?
I don't know why I'm kind of like, I know what happens, but also like I'm blanking on them. Because like...
On 7, like I said, I think 7 for the most part, it's
episode 1 from a different perspective.
Yeah, Yennefer goes back to Istrid. She tries to say like, hey, let's do that thing we used to talk about running away together. Istrid's he's with Nilfgaard as well. He's kind of been a little bit brainwashed and kind of hopeless and just kind of like, you know what,
He's like, I get to look at rocks. This is great, Yennefer.
Just stick with my work.
I'm living my best life.
Yeah, he's just like, I'd rather just stick with work. It's not worth the effort.
Mm-hmm.
And so Yen is a little brokenhearted at that and ends up going back to Aretusa to see what all the hubbub is about, bub. And also she kind of fucks with some of the younger girls to find out that some of the girls attending Aretusa don't even have magical talent.
Yeah, they just bide their way into it.
Yeah, they just had money. And hey, we all need some money, right?
The wrong way.
Yeah, she's a little pissed.
But yeah, Yennefer gets tricked into going back there. While she's back there, she learns about the issues going on with Nilfgaard, and she chooses to stay there and help them fight against it.
Yeah.
And while this is going on, Ciri's in this small town trying to get to that one place.
Yeah, Ciri's trying to get to Skellige / find Geralt. She ends up seeing some people that were from Sintra that used to be her friends. They find out that, they were only nice to her because she's a princess.
Yeah.
She ends up killing them.
She doesn't end up straight up killing them.
She obliterates them. But it's not like, oh, hey, just kidding, bitch, you suck. And then like obliteration. It's kind of another Scream event.
It's kind of another Scream event. And then like also like it's quite clear that they kind of like want to hurt her. So it's a little bit more
she's
like
defending
self-defense.
herself. She's defending herself.
It's not murder.
Yeah, she's not just straight killing them for killing them.
Murder.
Geralt. So in the beginning of episode 8, we see the camp where Ciri was camped out with in episode 2. She was hiding out with Dara in this little camp that gets invaded by Nilfgaardians. All the people get like slaughtered. Geralt finds himself there. There's a nice farm guy that's trying to put away the bodies of the dead refugees. Yeah.
Give them some respect.
Yeah, give them some respect. But Geralt's like, you really should like not be fucking with that. But yeah, episode 8, there's what I will call ghouls at the very beginning of the episode. Geralt gets bit by one of them while he's fending for a farmer, and he passes out. A majority of the episode, he's just in and out of consciousness. Meanwhile, there's a siege going on at Sodden Hill, where Yennefer is helping the mages defend the last, like, kind of narrow bridge into the north from Nilfgaard. Huge fights break out. A lot of the mages end up dying. You get to see a lot of cool magic combat kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, it's really hard to tell if there's a clear winner, because Yennefer scorches pretty much all of them. A few are left alive. It looks like Triss is going to be okay. Yennefer disappears after she casts a large spell. And then essentially after that, it's kind of the end of the show. You have Geralt and Ciri coming together at the very last scene, in which Ciri asks, who is Yennefer? So she knows about Yennefer. There's something being tied in with those three characters together, and that's how the series ends. I thoroughly enjoyed The Witcher.
I did as well.
So definitely recommend the watch if you made it this far. Thanks for hanging out, guys.
I'm mad that it doesn't fucking specify. I want to know. I need to know. Reddit says they're neckers.
Well, Reddit's wrong.
Reddit's always right. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Reddit, 4chan, they know what's up. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have too much to say. I mean, we kind of did a general review, giving some of our thoughts, some of my insights as far as like the game, how it refers to a lot of the events that happen here.
Beat by beat as best as we can, about an hour-ish amount of time.
Yeah. So, yeah. Super enjoyed the show. If you guys have any thoughts about the show so far, definitely let us know.
I want to read the books. I would like to do like a thing if I'm able to read the books.
Have fun with that.
Yeah.
I think they're quite long. I think they're kind of like the Game of Thrones.
No, I was looking at them on Audible. Not sponsored by Audible, but hey, Audible, if you're out there, I'll take you a sponsor. I use your shit all the time. But I was looking at them. They're like only 18 hours. It's not bad.
For like all of them?
No, like a book.
Okay.
I don't know, man. I listened to the audiobook of it and it was like 52 hours.
Jesus.
18's an easy peasy goer.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of...
Plus, you want to know why I can get through it quickly? I listen on its times 2 speed.
I see.
I like to listen to things quickly.
I definitely would say, from my understanding, and it does translate better, I think, in a Netflix, but the show does focus in general a lot more on Yen's backstory and Ciri as characters than is normally mentioned thus far. Like Yen, you don't really get, like, I know in Wild Hunt you're way in the future, you don't have a lot of the like Hunchback kind of stuff going on anymore, but they are generally side characters. In 3, Ciri is a main character, but that has bigger implications on just kind of what's going on at the time with the Wild Hunt. I think
Yennefer and both Ciri are very important from what I've read up on online.
They are, but like they're given more screen time and like more development in the show than normal. And it allows people to understand the characters a bit better. And also in a show,
I didn't mind it.
In a show, you're really restricted in what you're allowed to say in your narrative, as opposed to like a game that could have hundreds of hours of just exposition that you can go find.
Or you can just walk around, yeah.
Exactly. So it's like, as far as a narrative goes, I think they took a really good direction with it. I enjoyed the directing. The writing was really good. There were some issues that I had with just like maybe Ciri's contacts just constantly throw me off. They're just like not fitted to her. I think it's because she's, probably wearing adult contacts for a slightly smaller person, I think what did we look at? She's like 18. So I guess she's close to an adult now.
Yeah, but like she's small.
She's small, yeah. And then just some of the CG, but I mean, this is a Netflix show. It had 8-hour-long episodes. So, I mean, with so much budget, they really made it look amazing. And also, all of the fighting choreography. I can't think of a single fight that wasn't just awesome to watch. So, I don't know. I'd give it 9.5 out of 10.
I'd probably give it like an 8.
An 8?
Yeah.
I will say, because I think, especially from some people that I know have watched the show and talked to me a little bit about it, if you don't have any sort of understanding about these characters already, because it's like, I know who Ciri is, I know who Yennefer, Triss, all these side characters, Vesemir, Roach, good old Roach.
Yeah, boy.
Best character by far.
I disagree. It's the merchant. The merchant's great.
Come on, don't do Roach like that.
The merchant's such a wholesome guy.
The Roach is a horse.
I don't like horses. We've been over this.
It's Roach though. Yeah, I think it definitely is a little confusing if you don't already have a basis on who each of these important characters are. I wish they also gave me a little more information on the conjunction of the spheres, because that is something that was a big event for mages that happened. and it's referenced, I know, in the games, and it's referenced a lot in the show. Well, maybe not a lot, but it is referenced a decent amount in some of the more Yennefer heavy episodes. So I wish they went a little bit more in depth on that. Maybe they did in the early episodes and I just missed it, but I don't know. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
9 out of 10. Final offer.
8. Ocho. But yeah, that was this week's episode. If you're listening and you like it, either review it, follow it, comment, whatever, interact with us. We like you guys, and all of our links are in the description. Yay!
And as many of you know, if you spend any sort of time on the internet, I just have one single quote from Geralt of Rivia to say as we close out. Fuck. He says it like once at least every episode, I swear. 10 out of 10.
See you guys next week.